our special guest today, Sam. It's the first time we've invited somebody back.
He's looking as handsome as ever, isn't he? You know what I mean?
It was absolutely disgusting. And the goalkeeper's interview afterwards was just as bad, I thought.
Old Juffy's Marmite. Yeah, I love him, I hate him, and a lot of people hated him.
I hated him and loved him in the same day.
We went
Why
so
not?
far with him.
No.
So what's going on behind the scenes at Liverpool to lose two players in the way? Look, I'm losing now. Go on.
And he does have the best percentage win rate of any national team manager of all time.
Thank you for joining us for the latest episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. Hey Sam, how are you?
Nat, I'm very good, thank you. Looking forward to today and the rest of the season.
Yes, me too. We are properly underway now. And our special guest today, Sam, it's the first time we've invited somebody back. So
Yeah.
we must like him.
Well, I mean, I actually worked with him, so I thought while we were playing golf this week, he would be good to get him on as he's come up from south, down London, you know what I mean, and get him on. So we've got Karl back on, and pleased to see him again. He's looking as handsome as ever, isn't he? You know what I mean? But
You've got a tan, Karl.
yes, he's got a tan. He's been away for
Don't know what to
quite
say.
a few weeks, and we're
Can we move on, please, quickly?
we're looking forward to getting stuck into football again. I think the Premier League has started with a bang, and it Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday night, all sorts of controversy as usual. Some good, some not so good. So it'd be great to get stuck into it.
We're going to get stuck into it. And Karl Robinson, you were extremely honest on the first time we had you on the podcast. So we're expecting the same level of honesty as well. Yes, controversy, eh? What did you make of that Man United penalty?
Well, I mean,
Or non-penalty,
well,
obviously.
It wasn't just that, though. I mean, Howard's been in the chair this summer to Howard Webb. That is, if anybody didn't know that, to try and sort out the problems that the referees are not dealing with correctly, and particularly in and around the VAR scenario. And of course, we had two very controversial incidents this weekend, because as bad as Manchester United's penalty that should have been a penalty that wasn't a penalty, there was the similar goal disallowed for Everton.
Oh, I've not seen that one.
Yeah, and the keeper just drops it. I mean, he comes out, catches it, just drops it, touches the lad's making no effort to impede the goalkeeper, and the referee blows up for a foul. I mean, just ridiculous. So, not quite as bad or as obvious as the Wolves one, but certainly when you re-look at it, you didn't need to re-look at it. You didn't need to review it, like you didn't need to review the Man United incident, and of course, controversy around VAR again is not VAR, it's the people who are working in it. I keep talking about this, and Howard has to do a very quick job. I know it, he stood them down, but that's not good. They're going to be back on the week after, and if they're going to be doing the same things, then it's just not good enough, unfortunately.
Well, this might shock you. I got asked to do a talk at the PGMOL conference for the referees about 3 weeks ago. Okay. And there was, I think 500, so right across from the conference to the Premier League referees. They were all in there. And they were speaking about our manager's view of where we sit with referees. And they were speaking about our behaviour and why we get erratic and why we... I said, because I don't think you have any empathy. I don't think they understand what managers go through as referees and the consequences that it has on our job, on the players' livelihoods and so on and so forth. And a part of the conversation was through VAR. I said, but you have a chance to get it right. It's not VAR's fault. They've got people sat in a truck who can overrule. And where they say about this bar, I don't get what this bar is. If it's wrong, it's wrong. The Manchester United one, that was as clear and as obvious as you're going to get. One, it should have been seen on the pitch, baffling, because it's not as if like something's happened and he's had to turn his head away. And then VAR not to want to get involved in it, or the referee sat in a truck somewhere in London, not one. It was absolutely disgusting. And the goalkeeper's interview afterwards was just as bad, I thought. When he almost said, well, it definitely wasn't a penalty. I thought he could have been a little bit more open and honest and gone, I think we want to see... when you're on the pitch, okay, do everything you possibly can to not give a penalty away, and you're not going to put your arms in the air and it was a penalty. But afterwards, I thought he should have actually said, yeah, I think they have missed that, because he completely missed the ball. It wasn't as if it was close. And I still can't see how you can get something so wrong on the opening day of the season.
And that's
so
when you
wrong.
get managers' behaviour like you get, because, you know, Gary O'Neill gets booked he's gone absolutely bonkers on the fact that he can see it again. He's seen it happen. He thinks it's a penalty. He can see it again because your lads in the dugout have your laptop now or your iPad, so you can see it again in real time. And then they say, well, managers have to start controlling themselves. When you're in such a volatile position on your livelihood, because 4 more games down the road and no wins, 5 more games down the road and no wins, so he'll be sacked.
Yeah.
That's how quick it happens now.
Yeah.
So the expectation of him coming in at Wolves needed to be, you know, an instant impact by picking points up.
He had it in performance. They had it in performance.
Absolutely fantastic.
I actually tipped Wolves to go down on another
did.
show they did, and they were probably, that was the most surprised I've been all weekend. I actually sat to watch it to think this is going to be comfortable. Everyone was so excited about what Man United have brought in and what they're going to do. So I almost sat at a complete home win, 3-4-0. And I was so shocked by the energy levels and the tactics and how they went about it. And for it to be taken away by an official, there's no way of controlling that. People say that we need to be better at managers at controlling our temper. But it's so hard that you're in that situation to make key decisions at certain stages. If we get it wrong, and if the gaffer gets it wrong at Leeds, he gets criticised for it. And I almost felt that that's where, if there's a manager in the stand that can make a decision for you and put it right, you take it. They had that with VAR, and they did not get involved. It's pointless. It is pointless.
The self-judging is the problem. Nobody else goes in to judge them. And we've tried for years at the LMA to say you need somebody else. You need an independent review board to look at what you're doing through the season.
Right, referees done. Let's move on to Leeds.
Good
because
luck
yes, good luck to
this
them.
season. Let's hope they get better and better.
Definitely. So you both worked together at Leeds. So Sam, take us back. You get the Leeds job. When does the name Karl Robinson come into your mind?
Well, everybody knows that, like, you know, there's a little and large pairing called Sammy Lee and Sam Allardyce, like you mean. So everybody sort of knows, like, well, he'll probably take Sammy Lee, like you mean. So this was I was in Sir Alex Ferguson's office after the game on a Sunday, and I got the call and said, please, will you come and do 4 games, see if you can keep us up? And that was from the chief exec at Leeds. And I said, yeah, you know, I'll come. So I need to get there as quick as I possibly can. So I got home and rang Sammy, and he went, I've got a jury service. And then I think on Monday, he sent, my lawyer sent a letter in, and he can't do it, he can't get off, which I thought was particularly bizarre. How you're stopping somebody taking employment that's been out of work for a considerable amount of time. So I spoke to Karl. He rang me up about a job somewhere in Scotland. You might have a job in Scotland. And I said, anyway, come with me for a month. He went, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to Leeds, come with me for a month. So he went, oh, I think you thought about it for about an hour. And
Did you?
Yeah. He said, yeah. Right, I'll see you. I said,
No, he said to me, no, you said you've got an hour.
You've got an hour,
I didn't think about it for an hour.
No.
I was playing golf. I was going to a meeting in London and playing golf in the afternoon. And then I said, yeah, okay, yeah. And he went, I'd see you tonight. I thought,
in the hotel.
yeah. So that was it.
You went up that. So you go from London to Leeds that night.
Yeah. I played golf, played 6 holes of golf. My head was all over the place thinking I've got to go and get this ready, that ready. I just turned up and then that was it.
What was the Scotland job? Can you tell us?
No.
Oh,
Anyway.
worth a try. You got him because Sammy Lee was on jury duty.
There's another Sammy Lee. He was absolutely gutted, Sammy.
I used to call him every morning.
He'd ring us every day, see how it was going anyway. And anyway, so then there's another scenario. Who else can we get? Like you mean? So, Robbie Keane, Leeds legend. I'd worked with him or got to know him really well at Soccer Aid for 2 or 3 times. We were all together, like I mean, and of course, I know that he'd done Middlesbrough, done Ireland, so great with the striker, said to Karl. But so I rang Robbie on, I don't know whether it was a Wednesday morning, was it? Or was it Thursday? Can't remember.
Oh, we sat in the hotel and you said to me, what's in Robbie Keane? I said, I don't really know him, but I know people who were with him, said he's really good. He said, well, okay. That was the only thing he said. And the next thing, he was at the training ground at midday the next day.
The next day.
He called him that night. After 10 o'clock, he called him.
Yeah.
No, he called him in the morning.
Yeah.
And he was in a coffee shop in Malahide, right? And he always used to go to the coffee shop in the morning and take his missus a coffee back. Got the phone call in the morning, went back, forgot her coffee, right? I was on the next plane to Leeds, and then I was at the training ground in the afternoon.
Oh, that is commitment. Sam Allardyce phones you and you get on a plane.
Yes, done.
So what was it like working with Sam?
Yeah, it was different to last time because obviously there was more time, and it was almost like, well, what's the best way of going in? It was a team that was low, the canteen was quite flat.
Yeah.
So it was the only bit I didn't like, if I'm being honest. I felt we were more just going in there and trying to lift spirits.
Right.
And we're better than that. There's more too. There's more underneath that. There's more coaching that you want to do. There's more. We did one session and it was the hardest he'd worked all season, and it was just a normal run of the mill basic. And it wasn't the players' fault. It was the people before, and sometimes the people before need to be sometimes not. Some of the stuff that had gone on was so far off it. I felt whether you get in trouble by saying that, and from a fitness point of view, there were some good people who worked there. And when you think they had 2 managers who had 12 staff each, like come in, gone, come in, 12 staff gone, and actually the people who were on the ground, and certainly Angus as well, who's such a good guy,
Yeah, he's a good guy.
really good.
Who's that?
Angus,
Chief exec.
yeah, he was really, really good, and you got other people who worked around the club that were good. So I just felt like we was going in there, sort of just clapping hands and trying to make just emotion.
That was the surprising thing, that, like, because that, I like going through the stats and all that, like, so the analysts and the strength and conditioning coach and physio and all that, like, and I went, go on then, what's about the fitness? Like, they were miles off. You got so within the space of 18 months, probably less than 18 months,
Less.
You've got the fittest team in the league, and now not the fittest team under the 2 previous managers.
With the same players.
Well, yeah,
Roughly,
not all
roughly.
of them, but both of them, yeah. So you've gone from there, and it's gone from there to here. And that was one of the most surprising things that I had, because I was expecting, well, they might not be quite, but they're still going to be very close. They should still be in the top. Change of manager, maybe not as determined as Bielsa was. And I mean, he was ruthless. It was had to do this running, had to be this fit, had to do what I say. You must do this all the time.
Fascinating, though.
You know what I mean? Absolutely fascinating.
Fascinating.
You know what I mean? So I thought the fitness would just drop at a small level, but it had gone right down at bottom 3 in the Premier League. But no, that was the biggest problem we're facing out of all of it, because if you can't run, you can't win.
You came on the podcast at the end of the season last season, Sam, and I hope you don't mind me asking, Karl, you were very much on this podcast saying Karl should get the Leeds job. I want Karl to get the Leeds job. What did you have a conversation?
Never
about
even
it?
rang him, I don't
No.
think. No.
No, they spoke. They just said thank you. And no phone call. But it wasn't something that was expected for me. That people can say, and it's nice that people can say them things. I think the one thing I said this to, I think it must be on a radio show I did. The one thing that I felt was important for Leeds United, it wasn't so much the person that went in, it was the continuation of something. Because what had been before was multiple changes and multiple staff and multiple styles. That's what you get. You get lost in football with so many transitions of formations and styles and managers and stuff. And I think now that's 4 managers they've had in 12 months. And not one of them have been internally within that football club to step. So not so much me or the gaffer, but somebody that actually had the continuity through that could continue something that was a little bit good to make it good.
Well, I spoke to Angus, who I hoped would have had a bigger influence, and I'm not sure he did, because obviously the big problem was the big takeover, which is one of the reasons where I was undecided whether I would stay or whether I would not. Because of the situation at the club and whether they get it right or not, and the difficulties. That's not going to affect Karl because he's going to manage Leeds United and he's going to hit it head on, get stuck in. But it was going to be with Robbie.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be. He'd have had another coach who he knows as well, like you mean, but because they got on well together, and they're a good partnership, and they knew we'd already started planning pre-season, planning where to go, planning games, planning what to do with some of the other staff. So it was already ready to do, but obviously they weren't brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
Because what they've got now is they've got players leaving left, right, and centre, which was always going to be a problem because there were buyout clauses in the contracts if they got relegated.
Yeah,
so
reduced buyout clauses as well.
So Leeds United could be, by the end of this month, in serious trouble when other clubs decide that they need a player. Oh, there's this player at Leeds. We can get him for this much, which is going to be very cheap now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they might be in quite a bit of trouble. But continuity, like Karl said, would have been ideal. And of course he deserves a chance. I mean, he's blushing now I say this, but he deserves a chance to get at the higher level because I know he can do it. So, it's like it's not going to be a problem. You know what I mean? I had another mate of mine who never got the same chance. He had 5 promotions in 8 years, Mickey Mellon, and then Mickey Mellon never got out of League One. Nobody ever went, who should we get in this country? Or look at what's Mickey Mellon. He's got 5 promotions in 8 years, and nobody in the Championship says, let's get Mickey Mellon. You know what I mean? So, it's a very tough game down there for British coaches. And they are successful, but being overshadowed, even in lower divisions, by foreign coaches now.
But even look at the Wolves situation. I thought it was poor the way the manager didn't get what he wanted and left a few days before.
Yeah,
I think if he was British, I think he'd get such criticism for being whatever. Yeah. Like, oh, you've walked out, because everyone was tipping Wolves to go down. And they've actually gone to someone who did really well at Bournemouth.
Yeah, very well.
Right? Who's gone in and started what we've seen in the first game of the season, a real identity to Wolves. But I think if that on the reverse of that, if that was a news player that did what the Wolves manager did, I think there'd be an awful lot of criticism. I was surprised. I think if I thought he would have stayed at one stage, because like you were getting excited a little bit of being back in it, and it was nice because me and Keno sort of got on.
Yeah, very well.
Why are you laughing while you say that? I feel like there's a story behind that.
No, we just got on really well. It was, we're just 2 quite similar people, really. And it was good, and I just somebody else would have had to come in as well, I think, to sort of create the perfect team to move forward. But it was I just thought it would have been the perfect thing, and we would already speak. I didn't speak to any head of recruitment at any stage. I know you never. Which
wasn't on the sacked them all.
Which so you're coming towards the end of the season. I know there's people doing bits around it, stepping in.
But they weren't even at the training ground, were they?
No.
If they were there, they were at the stadium, like I mean, and I think that's quite weird. But I didn't think there were hardly any there left. I think it was
because I think if you with recruitment, they need to see the day-to-day running and how people get on, how people can sort of speak to each other, what the clicks like, who does he get on with, who does he, and almost figure out the team behind the scenes. So I just felt that with the big change in manager and with no recruitments, it was almost left with the contracts. You're talking Max has now gone, Vaz has gone, Robin Cox gone. Obviously, there's the Willy Gnonto situation, Sinistieri situation. Jack, who's a diamond of a lad, an absolute diamond. He's obviously gone. So all these players were leaving with almost nothing underneath, really.
Well, this season on the pod, Karl, we're doing listener questions, which leads very nicely onto what you're saying. The first one, Luke Williamson, he tweeted us, or tweeted me. If you want to ask Sam a question any week, by the way, just drop me a tweet and we'll go through them.
Drop me a tweet. I haven't got one.
Sam, you're on Instagram, though.
I am, yes, yeah.
Yes. So Luke Williamson has asked about the
Whoa. What?
Yeah.
Sam's on Instagram.
So am I. I started last week.
Oh, really? Okay, you're both on Instagram. You need to get a picture today. Get it on your Instagrams. So Luke Williamson wants to ask about the Gnonto situation. Obviously, he's kind of, is it fair to say refusing to play?
None of us know to what extent or what conversations have gone on. Here's a kid who is 19, 20 years of age. Contractually, it's hard to speak about what is and not right about his contract. A full Italian international for the first team, and I know he's been playing the summer. I think he has to play, first and foremost. You're contracted to Leeds United. You signed that contract. When you sat down with your agents, he has to play. And if he doesn't play and they fold and he goes, what precedent does that set for the rest of the players for the rest of this transfer window? And I think the manager's got to make a very bold decision. And sometimes that might have to be public. That's some of the reasons why. Because you can't have that lingering with a team that's drawn in the first game, got beat against Birmingham the other day. This needs to be sorted sooner rather than later. And it might have to be sorted aggressively. We didn't see that, Willy, whether he was good or bad. Me, sort of, Robbie actually...
I seemed a decent enough guy.
Yeah, he was.
But then there was a bit of naughtiness with his pal, weren't there? They got a bit of mischief in him, didn't they? Like, you mean that?
Yeah, till me and Robbie beat him at tennis, then we brought him back into...
Yeah.
But there was Cree and there was Willy, who was sort of very, very close.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of talk of both of them leaving in the summer. And it's hard for players because when they see one of the friends leaving, maybe a Jack Harrison going back to the Premier League, that can be a little bit of a dent in your own confidence. And footballers don't have that long of a career, and they've got to make decisions quickly to support their own lives and their own careers. But I argue, while you're in that moment in time, you are signed to play for Leeds United, and you have to play. Yeah. Now, if you want to go on that football pitch and let your fans down, let your teammates down, that says a lot about you as a human being. So even though he refuses to play, I would still play him.
Yeah.
And then it's down to him to perform how he needs to perform, and we lose because of his lack of effort. Well, that responsibility falls on him. And knowing Willy in the short time, he's not a bad person. He never came across a bad person.
I think that's guided by his agent.
Yeah.
I think his agents told him to do that. I can't see it within him in the short period of time I was there that he would say, right, I'm not going to play. I think his agent said, look, the best way you've got getting away is that you just go in and say, I'm not turning up. And I think that agent has to be absolutely certain, 100%, that he's got a club for him to go to. Because if he's taking the chance on doing that without the club to go to, it could ruin his career. Yeah. Not totally, but it could set him back so far. And it's going to be very difficult. You make those decisions. You don't make those decisions by your agent telling you not to turn in. Your agent's all right when he's negotiating your contract, but he doesn't rule your life, and he doesn't rule what you should do at the football club. Because the club give you the contract, you're contracted to the football club. The club want you to train and play. You turn around and say, and the only reason you're going to do it is you've definitely got a club to go to. That Leeds are not prepared to negotiate the right deal for them. That's where the stumbling block would be. Leeds would want this, probably loan fee if it's loan, or what this.
So they should.
Absolutely, yeah, because you can't. So that would be the stumbling block, and they're trying to force the hand of Leeds United to take what's offered instead of Leeds saying, "Well, our value's this, not that. You give us our value, yes, you can have him. You don't give us the value, you can't have him." And then the agent saying, "Well, don't turn in. You'll probably get away."
Would you, as a manager, sign a player that had gone on strike at his previous club to come to you?
It makes you better, yes.
You wouldn't be worried that he'd do it again to you?
Well, you would outweigh the...
Yeah.
There was always that, sign right down here what value is to you, and then write down there what problems you have. And if this one's shorter than that one, you cope with it. When that one gets shorter and this one gets longer, you get rid of them. And it's that simple.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're talking to somebody, right, who, if you look through the course of, especially the Bolton times, well, let's talk one player, El Hadj Diouf.
Yeah, Diouf, yeah.
Yes.
Right. Who we both know really well.
Imagine, yes.
Right. And so when you look at Diouf, like, problems are here. Like, you can't get any further. But his output matched it. Like, and the output for you matched it. So whereas Diouf could go somewhere and actually fall out with himself in the nicest possible way, right, he wouldn't under Sam, because there was a mutual respect there. So again, it's almost how well you know. So if you knew Willy Gnonto when you say you went to the football club and you knew him, you knew his personality, and you knew you get more out of him than the manager that he's leaving, 100% you would sign him. And I'm using Diouf as an example. You'll probably get a phone call having a go at Diouf. But even like I said, Nicholas Anelka, Diouf, people like that. So JJ, there's been players that you've had throughout the course of your career that people will foresee and use problem alongside the name, that you've took that risk on and worked. If you look at the Bolton team you had, use Diouf as an example. When he's going into a dressing room with Fernando Hierro, Djorkaeff, Campo, Speed, like, you're putting that situation into a situation of good people, and you know then people can control that free spirit a little bit. Because as a manager, I don't think you want to have to control the free spirit. You want him to be free, but equally the dressing room, you know, can handle him. So again, would you sign a player? But if the dressing room's got a strong enough unit that you're saying not family but togetherness, you know they'll sort of welcome in and go, we know you're basically, and we know you're out here and there, but just make sure when you walk on that white line, we've got your back and you've got our back. What you do when you walk off it, couldn't give two hoots really, as long as we've got this unity when you walk on the football pitch. So again, making them decisions, it's a flippant answer, but you also need to understand that your staff and team can control the person you sign.
Okay.
Old Diouf is Marmite. Yeah, I love him, or you hate him, and a lot of people hated him. Like,
I hated him and loved him in the same day.
But when you are in the position that you are,
you need to get him on this.
They are
great value.
They're ready to play for you. You know what I mean? And they're ready to fight for you because you're in a difficult position. Like, I mean, Diouf rang up from Sunderland and saying, it's the worst thing I did coming up here. Can you come and get me? So yeah, I can come and get you, no problem. So I get the best deal ever off Sunderland on loan with the view to buying if we stay up. You know, I got about 8 million off Liverpool's price when I signed him for Bolton. So I got about $1 million off Sunderland's price when I signed him at the end of the season again.
I said, why are you signing? I never knew Diouf at this point, so I was sort of quite young and naive to it. So why are you signing him? I said, what? He said he's the most, at the time, we were big, Chris Samba, Ryan Nelson, Rocky, big team, Brett Emmett, and people like 6'+ players. He went, I said, because everyone hates him. He said, that's why we're signing him, because he's the most foul man in the Premier League. Yeah. And we'll get more free kicks by giving him the ball.
The final third.
And we put the ball in the box more. And I was like, oh, wow, this is genius.
Yeah.
So actually, the fact that no one else liked him made Blackburn stronger and created more opportunities to put the football in the box where we had aggressive players to go and attack the ball.
Oh, I love that. I never thought about it from that side.
Because he's a little...
By the way,
yes!
It's amazing how his own fans get to love him.
Yeah.
He's one of those players, I imagine, yes.
They do, honestly. They all want to Diouf like he loves it. Like
that's him shouting about himself.
I know, yeah.
We are back for the new season, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube so that you never miss a show. You worked with Simon Jordan recently.
I went down to see him, down in London. Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it was about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, like I mean. But his usual, his usual self. He's not changed. He never will change, will he? I mean, that's what probably makes him so popular on TalkSport, doesn't it? Like I mean, and I do admire him for all those big words he practices before he comes in, like I mean. So. And I often go away thinking I might have to have a look that one up and see what that means, like I mean. But because
you might not find
my vocabulary in terms of words doesn't take me that far with my education, but it is a quite unique. And I think he must practice or find them thinking, this is my sort of label, if you like. That's my character. So I think he thinks of a couple of new ones
Yeah.
here and there through the week, doesn't he? Like you mean, but
right.
it's certainly very, very popular with Jim Inney on the what is it, 10 o'clock till 1. Because I was actually listening to the pair of them coming in this morning. So you know,
He'll
so
be happy
they're-
you've given him a
so
plug
they're
there.
going all right, like I mean. So
It is a good show.
Yes, yeah. So, another listener question that's come in. So, Richard Parker tweeted me and he wants to ask about your opinion of the impact of Kevin De Bruyne's injury. So, they're saying it could be up to 4 months. City are being linked with other people. Paqueta, West Ham.
Yeah.
I mean, there's rumours of Elise, but he's been linked to a few places now, I think, as well. What do you think about the impact of De Bruyne, and do City need to replace him?
Well, you know, you'd argue that he has a replacement, but not of the same type. You know what I mean? Who's obviously big money from Leeds, but not had a chance to actually prove himself. But that would mean playing a different way, because Kevin's obviously more attacking minded, you know, than Kieran. So I think that yes, if you can find one.
I don't think that's as much of a problem as, and what baffled me, and I remember you clapped this during the game as well. I never realised how good Gundogan was.
Oh,
Like, to me, that's a bigger loss.
yeah.
Now, that might be controversial, but watching him play in the 4 games before we played them, I was like, wow. And we did all this work on not getting, he scored 2. But he played a pass with the outside of his left foot to De Bruyne, who's back-heeled it to Haaland, who's had the shot, he's missed it. Thank God, by the way, he had the worst game he's ever had for Man City against us on the day. But Gundogan, to me, was the most complete performance I'd seen. And I felt that there were 2 players at Leeds that when we played against them, it shocked me how good they were. Really, it was him and Declan Rice at West Ham. I'd fair when you see him really close up. But so De Bruyne, to lose Gundogan and then lose De Bruyne, I think it becomes an even bigger problem than what they had, because of the impact of both of them. And when you're competing at the levels they competed at last season, they were so influential in most of what Man City did was good. So for me, there is going to be players out there. Paqueta could be one. I know people at West Ham speak very highly of him. But does he have that same aura and flamboyance of what De Bruyne brings, that sense of assurance? Because that must, if you're like a wide player, Phil Foden, the way he carries himself, De Bruyne, there's self-assuredness in him that probably falls onto the rest of the players, and he's a captain. Yeah. So that's a big loss in
They
itself.
could play Phil Foden in there for me.
Yeah, a little bit higher.
And I think that Phil's going to get incredibly frustrated if he goes back to what happened last season when he got.
But I would say,
because now he's of a mature age where it's the 25 games or 20 games is not enough anymore. So I think he can create, he can assist, and he can score. So he can play in one, because obviously Jack Grealish seems to be the preferred choice on the left hand side.
There's another knock onto this is,
and Mahrez has gone as well, yeah.
Because I think Phil Foden's almost nailed him for that position, but Mahrez going. So I think if Mahrez would have stayed and De Bruyne gets injured, Phil Foden would have just dropped into that position. But so if you look at the players that Man City have lost, you said before, I know you're very biased. Not very
I am,
biased, completely biased.
Totally 100%
biased.
And she went,
biased.
we'll have a plan. We'll have a plan.
We'll have a plan.
We'll
have
have a plan.
Faith in them.
Right, but when you look at like sort of Gundogan, De Bruyne and Mahrez, when you look at that, to lose 2 of them and then to lose 1 through injury, they're big.
It's a big
loss. And that's it.
Yeah.
So that's where
Gundogan, Mahrez and De Bruyne. It's a big loss for them.
I don't feel worried though. It's weird, isn't it, that I don't feel worried, because I just have utter faith.
I don't think they win the Premier League this year.
Who do you think does?
I said Liverpool the other day because I thought they were going to get the boy from Casido, and now they haven't. I'm going to have to backtrack massively when I do another show next week.
Well, there's one thing Liverpool have to do is stop playing the eye line, because they can't cope with it anymore. Everybody's sussed them out, and they got sussed out a lot by Chelsea. Chelsea's gone to 600 million in 2 years, but still haven't got a goal scorer. And everybody's talking about they'll finish in the top 4 this year.
I don't think Chelsea.
I think Liverpool do that. You know, when you've not got unless they're good enough to share the goals around.
They've got that Jackson guy, haven't they? I've not seen too much of him
yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I don't think he's top.
Yeah.
But
I think he's good, but I think
not
we're
Sterling.
saying
Sterling scored more goals at Manchester City
Yeah.
than he'll ever do at any other football club, because he's served up with more chances there than he will be served up at Chelsea. So you cannot go to top 4 without a certain amount of goals.
Yeah.
So we used to average it out every year. We had a table of, if we're going to finish in this part of the league, we have to score this many goals in open play, this many goals on set plays, and if we're going to get to this position, we'd have to get this many clean sheets. We can only afford to concede this amount of goals.
Yeah.
And when you do those maths and you look at those maths, it's and we used to go back 10 years. So it was always very much the same. It was never, there was a little bit of difference, but only a few small percentage of difference that you could calculate where you're going to finish in the league by, if you want to get this many points, this is how you get them. So without the goals being shared around first, or there's a particular Harry Kane that's going to get you 30 to start with, then and then you have to then marry that with having the best. And Liverpool only won the league because they had the best clean sheet record or the best defensive record. Man City won it with the best defensive record.
I think if you look at the Premier League this year, I think there's been so much movement. I think this could be one of the best seasons we ever seen in the Premier League. But equally, if you look at the top 4, they've all got clear problems. So Manchester United, look at that balance in midfield with Bruno and with Mount being in there. Will they be able to cope in the real big games? But then you look at Liverpool's midfield at this moment in time with no holding midfield player, with the line being so high.
Yeah.
You look at Man City with Mahrez, now De Bruyne are out and Gundogan gone. You look at Arsenal with them not having a natural striker that people are speaking about, and is their back 4 going to be good enough to sustain it? You look at Chelsea not having a striker. Going back to Man United, the new boy they brought in to play up front. He's young, it's his first season in the Premier League. So it's so easy to City, but that's what makes the Premier League.
You're not mentioning Tottenham, I guess that was on purpose.
I don't, they lose.
Losing Kane, I mean, just...
And the big thing for Liverpool for me is obviously losing out on Caicedo. Like we were talking before, like we wouldn't go to Bellingham. Like
is that the Scouse coming out in you?
Yeah, it is. No, so
what you mean? Should I have Bellingham instead of Caicedo?
They went
Why
so
not?
far with him.
I know.
So what's going on behind the scenes at Liverpool to lose 2 players in the way? Look, I'm losing now. Go on.
We've got some quick fire questions to go through, so we'll try and keep them quicker than we normally do. But first, you were talking there about the lack of strikers in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So if you're looking
in the world,
Natalie,
in the world.
So if you're looking at clubs that have actually got decent strikers, does that give Newcastle with
Yes.
Isaac and Villa with
Good player.
Watkins an advantage, do you think, this season?
I do. I think that the balance is now shifting in their favour as long as they can, keep those strikers happy.
I think what Isaac
And
does.
playing, because they're playing in the Premier League, the Carling Cup, the FA Cup and the Champions League, that rotation gives those players a lot of games because they're going to play a lot of games, particularly if they get through in the Champions League situation first, like you mean. So once you get them playing on quite a regular basis and scoring goals, then they'll go a long way. But they were mightily impressive against Aston Villa, who had finished very, very strongly last year.
That was a shock result of the weekend for me, 'cause I felt Villa
Very
were going to
good.
be a top 6 team this year.
There's a buzz. There's a buzz.
Yeah.
There's a buzz around Newcastle.
I think with Isaac, I think it fits really well because Wilson, their other striker, doesn't seem to, obviously with his injuries that he's had and the sort of stop-start, it's almost perfect now because he starts and you've got that sort of somebody who probably is comfortable. I think as a manager, it's the perfect situation when you've got your real star striker and someone's a really good striker who's happy just to not just fill the void, but to when needed play. And I think he is the second best striker in the Premier League right now.
Isaac.
Yeah. Because of his pace, and I know he can play off one wing as well. He can play a little bit deeper. He offers such
It is a quick fire question.
Yeah. So you started it.
I know.
I'm just using.
Nat's got to stop us.
We never managed to make.
That's the next one then.
Okay, let's go. Best signing of the summer so far.
Declan Rice.
Okay, that was quick. Okay.
Oh, I'd have to go along with that. Yeah,
He was
Declan
brilliant.
Rice.
He was brilliant. Honestly, I didn't realise how good he was.
Okay. Where will Harry Maguire be when the transfer window closes?
At Man United.
I think there's one more twist in it. Don't know where.
He turned West Ham down. He's turned it down.
He turned them down.
Well, there you go then.
I know his agent really well. So
Why would he have done that?
So I want to say he's going to stay then.
Yeah, you follow that.
Yeah.
I'll take it from a quick fire question to a why do you think he's done that?
I think that if it's going to be, and this is no disrespect to West Ham because I've managed them like you mean, but he's felt that West Ham on the troubles that they had last season down the bottom of the league, he doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be going there. He wants something bigger.
Wow.
But do you not think there'd be something for him though? Because he's still one of the better centre halves. And I know he's had.
It's only the manager that is there now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Which is everybody else is now saying the same thing, which is a nonsense because he's not that bad.
Well, I think the problem now is their own fan base boo him. Like, how can that be any good for the player? On pre-season tours in America getting booed. Like, how?
Yeah, the goalkeeper didn't help that, did he?
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that the goalkeeper immediately picked on him.
Yeah, I would love to have seen what happened in the tunnel afterwards
Yeah.
because I think you'd have to tell if that was, imagine the goalkeeper come for you, you'd sort of take it a little on the pitch, and when you got in the dressing room, you'd give it that again.
Yeah, it's your first game or your second game or something, yeah.
But I just think there's still...
He's England's number one centre-half.
Yeah, I still think there's a twist somewhere.
So...
And I don't know where. And if he's saying it's not big, does Villa now, with Mings being injured for that long period of time, not too far up the motorway...
obviously it's a big number financially because if he's 30 million, he's a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that. Anybody under I think it's clear that Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea are not going to go for him. Yeah. So I think that anybody after that, like Villa, like you said, Tottenham, you know what I mean? It's all going to improve all their teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just think there's enough big teams that need that leader and that level of quality in the Premier League. It's very few and far between. You're right, saying that you get a player with that much money, with that much output that is going to stay and not play. And he seems, I don't know him, but he seems to be like a lad who wants to play football.
There's only one thing that is not his fault because he's born that way. He's not quite quick enough. His pace is, and if more and more people want to play a high line, the more you can get. If you're lacking a little bit of pace, the more you can get caught up. Yeah. So you've got to accept that if you take him on, that you can't just say, "Well, I'm taking Harry Maguire on, and we're going to play a high line."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now that's my fault. That wasn't a quick one because I delved more. So that was me.
That
was on me this time. Okay. Who's been your surprise package of this? Oh, who will be the surprise package of the season? Sorry, obviously we're only one game in. So who will be? Yes.
The team.
Or a player if you want.
No, I'm going to go for the team.
Seeing what I had Wolves get relegated and seeing the energy they had in the middle of the park and the power that they possessed to outrun Manchester United in an area where you've got three very good players, that surprised me. And if they can hit them levels consistently, whether they've got a striker, that's they need a striker. It's clearly obvious they need a striker. But yeah, they could end up surprising me of what I said before the season. I thought they were bankers to be relegated under the last manager. With a new manager now in charge and a different way of playing, they could surprise one or two.
Surprise team this year. Who's it going to be? I don't think it's going to be any one of the three that went up. Unlike last year where we got Fulham and Brentford and Brighton, and that made a big impact recently. So it's hard to think. Aston Villa had a great storming, so I'd still go Newcastle carrying on.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe win what the fans are desperate for, win a trophy, and certainly reinstate their Champions League status next year.
Okay, coming to the end now. So, would you two work together again?
I'd love to, but you know, it's whether he'll have me.
I've always said this publicly as well. We speak with directors of football consistently. The best directors of football now, or sporting directors, will be managers who've dealt with chairmen for their whole career in the old way, where you were everything, but equally understanding and having that empathy for the manager. So, I'd like, if they had the perfect scenario, I know the perfect job for now would be like a director of football somewhere.
Well, I offered that a bit at Leeds. I said, look,
Yeah.
if you want me to be a consultant or the director of football, it takes me up. But like, if you could do Karl and Robbie, like, you know, you hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that all the players would have been on our side. I might be wrong, not all, but there'd always be some that would
there'll be one that won't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that, but there always isn't there, like I mean. But, you know, I truly believe we'd done enough to get respect from the players that we'd handled for that short period of time and would have, you know, responded to.
But I always thought that'd be the perfect job for him. Yeah. And then
you as a manager.
But then I seen like his little cheeky smile when he went to the training ground. Like, look, you see his face, look. I'd never seen, like, for a long time, I'd never seen, like, he was just, when you put that big whistle and tuck your socks into your pants into your socks, that
was the sign.
Yeah,
he's back.
His big coat was flapping everywhere, and you just went into like 15 years, 20, because it does keep you young, managing, definitely being around young athletes, and helping them and making them better. So I thought that would have been a perfect job. And then when I seen him at Leeds, I was like,
managing's not over.
Yeah.
And it's a great club.
I think international.
It is a great club. It is a great club. It is. It's obviously it needs a new stadium. I mean, obviously they've got hopefully a structure, or they'll put into a structure a plan for Leeds United to grow, to not only redevelop the team, get back, but also redevelop the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll end up international football.
Okay, my last question for you, well, I've got two questions, was going to be, where do you think Sam will end up next?
International football.
Okay.
I think he has the perfect balance and mould of, he knows the Premier League inside out, he knows the players inside out, and that being so intense for 10 days, and he does have the best percentage win rate of any national team manager of all time.
Yes. I feel like we should end it on that, but I've got one last question for you. Where will we see you next?
I don't know. I think this is the next 5 weeks. Like, I'm just going. I feel really bad because when I go to a game now, I ring the managers because I've seen one or two things happen.
Oh, definitely. Darren Moore was at Derby County this week, and I immediately went, "Oh."
So I always ring the managers. I rang. I went to a game the other day and I rang another manager who didn't answer the phone. Obviously doesn't like me, but I only rang him just to say, I'm coming to the game, it's local.
I'm just watching. I'm not trying to get your job, yeah.
But I just think what that does is because I remember Mick McCarthy doing it to me. Mick McCarthy rang me and said, I'm coming to your game, just so you know, I'm not trying to, I'll be, they put me in the box, I don't want to be in the box, but I'm in the box. Because I think the worst thing when you're losing a few games, you look up and you see another manager in the box. It hits you. I know you have self-confidence in who you are. So I was ring manager. So I'm just watching games. It's still 4 or 5 weeks away of that merry-go-round of where...
I wouldn't go to a game with the managers under pressure.
No.
If I were out of work.
I wouldn't.
I'd go to one that's, more at the top end, like
I agree.
where to go in and watch, like I mean. So,
very respectful.
I wouldn't go to a game. Even if the club rang me up and said, "Would you want to be manager?" I'd say you can only talk to me if you've decided your manager's not who you want and you've actually got rid of him, you've sacked him.
Yeah.
Then you can ring me and I'll tell you whether I'm interested. But that doesn't happen to most managers.
Pro managers.
Most managers don't do that.
The
believe
managers
you me.
union. Carl, thank you so much. You've been
Thank
as
you.
honest as ever, and we much appreciate it. Sam,
See you
thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you. I'm not here next week.
Are you not?
I'm having holiday quickly
dear
before the
me.
season really gets going.
Who's filling in then?
You'll have a very adequate stand-in, but I'll be back the week after. I promise I won't take another
where are
holiday
you off
after
to?
that. I'm just going up to Scotland for 5-6 days. City don't have a midweek game. My son's going away with his dad, so I'm taking the chance.
Square sausage and eggs.
Cannot wait.
Great weather.
Cannot wait. I know, right? Cannot wait. Thank you for joining us for another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. We will be back. Sam will be back next week, and I'll be back in 2.